Hello, one and all. Here is our discussion for business combination again. Okay, part 2. Okay, why? Because yung unang part is the basics lang. Okay, recognition, measurement, how do you do a business combination, what are the defensive strategies for takeovers. Okay, so yun yung part 1. But because of changing times, okay, and siguro innovation and creativity of businessmen handling businesses and combining with each other. Okay, nagkaroon ng certain business transactions that weren't previously, kumbaga, hindi nila naisip before. Hindi naman talaga naisip. Kumbaga, mas advanced, mas complex. Okay, so these are the special cases when it comes to business combination. Like, for example, share-to-share exchanges and the business combination achieving stages and those that are achieved without even transferring a single peso or walang consideration na ibinigay. Okay, so madali lang ba? Madali lang to. Okay, if you know the basics, kahit balik-balik ta rin natin yung tanong, okay, you get by. Okay, so yun. So let's start. We'll discuss first share-to-share exchanges. So this is actually the acquisition wherein equity interests are acquired. So dati, sanay tayo na cash ang binabayad. Okay, this one is actually nag-i-issue ng shares. Okay, so as consideration. So yan. If the it's also called stock acquisition. Okay, so it can be na yung buong entity binibili, okay, through stock acquisition, o di kaya naman for a certain percentage lang that obtains or gives control to the acquirer. Okay, so ibig sabihin may non-controlling interest pa. So we'll discuss it naman. So may note lang dito kasi 'di ba, when we're looking at the fair values of the acquirer, yung tina-transfer niyang consideration, yung fair values niya. Okay, but what if the fair values of the acquirer cannot be reliably measured? Okay, when considering the consideration transferred. So, pag ganon, you have to consider the fair values of the equity interest ni acquiree. Okay, pwede yon. Okay, and yun yung ginagamit pag nagko-compute ng goodwill. This is only used if the acquirer's fair values cannot be reliably measured at mas reliably measurable yung kay acquiree. Okay, dun lang siya ginagamit ha. Okay, let's start. Dito, yung given ko first is if the acquirer's fair values can be reliably measured. Sa guided exercises, I'll find a problem wherein the acquiree has the fair values that can be reliably measured more than the acquirer. So we have on January 1, 20X1, Itziko acquired all of the identifiable assets and assumed all of the liabilities of Nisio Inc. by issuing its own shares. So, yun. Nag-issue siya ng ordinary shares. Information at acquisition date is shown below. So, you have the financial statement of Itziko at carrying amounts. You have Nizios Inc. at fair values, and then you have the combined. Look at the combined. Okay, you have question marks for goodwill because we'll still be computing it, and then you have question marks for retained earnings because we will be still computing it. If you look at the share premium, 600 plus, tawag din you have the share premium, share capital, and retained earnings. So, the equity accounts. Now, let's look at the additional information. You have Itziko's share capital consists of 60,000 ordinary shares with par value of 10. And while Inizio has 3,000 ordinary shares with par value of 100. Okay. First, we need to look at kung paano namin kukumputin walang fair value per share. Hindi ka sure. Okay, so, for value of consideration transferred, we look at the given data. You have Itziko, the acquirer. Kung paano yung nasabi ng acquirer? Because he is the one who acquired, and by definition, PFRS 3, he qualifies for all of the criteria as the acquirer. Okay, so you have Itziko's share capital, share premium given. Then you have the combined entity. Doon pala makikita mo na yung differences nilang dalawa. And we will look at the increase. So, we have Itziko 600,000, pero nung kinumbine na yung entity, nagkaroon ng 100,000 increase. Bakit kaya? Baka kasi yun yung consideration transferred. Okay? Yung share premium, 300 naging 1,2. Magkano increase? You have 900,000. Okay? From the increases, you can see that 100 plus 900, 1 million yung fair value of the shares transfer. Diba? It can be reliably measured through the given data. You just have to look closely. So, yan. So, we have now the fair value of the shares transferred. Pwede na tayo mag-compute ng number of shares issued. Okay, kasi malimit tinatanong kung magkano yung ibinigay na shares noong transfer in consideration. So, kita mo, doon ka titingin kay share capital account. Bakit? Kasi given ka ng par value sa additional information. Eh, di ba, ang par value, ang karugtong niya or ang parang ang sanggandikit niya lagi is nasa share capital account siya lagi. Okay, kasama siya sa pagkukompute ng share capital. So, ibig sabihin, doon mo makikita kung ilan yung inisyong shares by looking at the increase, okay, ng share capital, which is 100,000 kanina. Then, you just divided by 10. Doon mo malalaman na 10,000 yung number of issued shares. Okay, di ba amazing? Amazing. So, from there, from the increase, kasi kung nag-increase siya, ibig sabihin yun yung binigay. So, nung binigay na, divide mo lang ng 10 par value, okay? Nasa share capital account ka naman, kaya you have 10,000 issued shares. Ganun lang. Okay? So, can we now determine the acquisition date fair values? Yes, of course. So, we have fair value of the consideration transferred. You have 1 million. Okay? Ang hinahanap natin ay fair value ng shares per share pala ha, acquisition date fair values per share. Paano natin malalaman yon? Yung nakita nating 1 million fair value, okay, ng consideration transferred, divided by the number of shares issued na nakuha natin through using the increase in share capital and the par value, which is 10,000, divide mo lang yon, malalaman mo that the acquisition date fair values is at 100. Ma'am, ganyan ba lagi ang problem? This is actually a creative way of presenting the problem. Kasi minsan, there will be problems na given ang fair value per share. So, madali na yun. Para kang, tapos punpid lang tayo, yan. Okay, this one is, ipapa-analyze talaga sa iyo kung paano mo hahanapin. Okay, so yan. So, we now record, so 100 pesos ha, per share, yung acquisition date fair value. Okay, now we record. So, sa stock acquisition, okay, remember your investments. Okay, so when you obtain control, okay, you are actually having a subsidiary with you. Okay, so this is actually an intro na dun sa consolidation. Okay, so 50%, 51% or more, okay, you already have control, and meron ka ng parent-subsidiary relationship. So, ipasok mo siya sa investment in subsidiary at fair value account. So, remember that investment in subsidiary is an asset account. So, debit, investment in subsidiary, 1 million. And then, i-credit mo na yung inisyong mong mga shares. Credit, ordinary share capital at par value, you have 10,000 times 10 at 100,000 pesos. And then, share premium, you have 900,000 to recognize the investment in subsidiary. Okay, so diba? Nandiyan na naman yung ating pinag-aralan sa intermediate accounting 1A, 1B. Okay, so 1A ata yan. Okay, so yan. Okay. Yeah, we can now compute for goodwill. So, remember our formula in computing for goodwill. So, we have consideration transferred. Pasok mo, 1 million. May NCI ka ba? Wala, kasi lahat ay binili mo. 100% binili mo si acquiree. So, wala. Previously held equity interest. Wala, kasi isang bagsakan mo siyang binili, hindi achieved in stages yung iyong investment. Okay, so, total 1 million. And then, you deduct the fair value of net identifiable assets acquired. So, given naman, you have 1/6 na assets minus 900,000 na assumed liabilities. You have 700,000 net assets. Then, 1 million minus 700,000, you have a goodwill of 300,000. Okay? Pwede na natin buuin? Yes. Pwede na natin buuin. Okay? So we have identifiable assets na 4 million sa combined financial statement. Then recognize sa goodwill na na-compute mo kanina na 300,000. You get total assets of 43. Okay? Then on the other side, di ba kanina yung retained earnings na question mark? You can use the accounting equation if ayaw mo na talaga mag-isip. Okay? You can use the accounting equation to complete the liabilities and equity side. You know that the 43 ang total, okay? So, ang nawawala naman ng isa lang, you just squeeze the retained earnings part. But remember, take note na yung acquiree, which is NIZU, okay, yung retained earnings niya is fully removed kasi 100% purchase. Pinurchase siya ni Itziko, okay, which is the parent or the major acquirer. so the acquirer. So, nawawala na yung retained earnings niya. Okay? And sa combined FS, ganyan yung itsura ng FS after the acquisition. Okay, so, purita lang ang teacher niyo, naka-aircon, naka-electric fan lang yan, magpapaytulong. Okay, so we're done. Huwag kayo mag-alala, marami pang problem solving tayo sa guided exercises. Binigyan ko lang ng overview kasi mas madaling mag-explain kapag may problem. Okay? So, business combination achieved in stages. So, dito naman, paunti-unti ka nagiging malapit ka na sa 51% or more. So, ganun. So, investor acquires additional shares from the investee, which he had previously held equity interest. So, dati parang laro-laro lang sa iyo na, sige, mag-invest ako 10%, 15%. Tapos parang ginanahan ka na sa kanya kasi parang ang ganda-ganda na ng kanyang performance sa company, sa industry. Tapos parang gusto mo maging major stockholder. O di kaya naman, alam mong palugin na, pero alam mo, nakikita mo yung potential mo sa kanya, pero walang magsalba. Ikaw lang talaga yung nag-iisip. So, ginawa mo, nag-purchase ka ng shares. So, dati meron ka ng hawak na shares. Okay, dinagdagan mo lang ngayon. At nung dinagdagan mo, nagkaroon ka tuloy ng control. Dati significant influence lang. Ngayon, minsan nga, parang wala pa sa significant influence criteria. Ngayon, nung pagka-purchase mo ng another, nagkaroon ka na tuloy ng control. Okay? Sometimes, this is also called step acquisition. Okay? So, the acquirer shall account for such as follows. So, first, you remeasure yung dati mong binili, yung previously held equity interest mo, okay, at acquisition date fair value. So, ibig sabihin, fair value mo din yung binili mo before. Okay? And then, recognize the gain or loss on measurement in, so yan, meron na naman tayo, P&L, profit or loss, if yung equity interest na previously held mo ay FVPL, investment in associate, and investment in joint venture. O, diba? Refresh. Minsan, kailangan mo din balikan yung intermediate accounting for this one. OCI, if equity interest is classified as fair value at OCI. Mukhang kailangan yung basahin uli ang inyong intermediate book. So, yun. So, we have an example here. You have, on January 1, 20X1, Twice co-acquired 15% ownership interest in Nizio Inc. for 100,000. Parang JYP. Ganun talaga. Okay. The investment was accounted for under PFRS 9. Okay. From 20X1 to the end of 20X3, Twice co-recognized net fair value gains of 50,000. PFRS 9 is investments, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so, on January 1, 20X4, Twice co acquired, so siya yung acquirer. Additional 60% ownership interest in, laki, Nizio Inc. for 800,000. As of this date, Twice co identified the following. So, the acquirer identified that the previously held 15% interest of Twice co has a fair value of 180,000. Nizio's net identifiable assets have a fair value of 1 million. Twice co elected to measure NCI at NCI's proportionate share at Nizio's identifiable assets. So, pwede kasing at fair values na lang ng NCI or at proportionate share ng NCI sa net asset ng acquiree. So, dalawang method yon. Okay, so, let's start. What if the previously held interest was classified as FVPL? So, fair value at profit or loss. Paano na natin account? Unang-una, computein muna natin if there's a goodwill or gain in bargain purchase. So, we have consideration transferred. Magkano daw binili? Balikan natin. Purchase additional 60% ownership interest in Nizio Inc. for 800,000. So, 800,000 muna ha. Ma'am, paano yung before? Intay muna. This is, dun sa 60% muna, 800,000. Consideration transferred, 800,000. Okay? Next, NCI's interest in the acquiree. So, ma'am, paano namin malalaman kung magkano ang kung ilan yung percentage ng NCI? 'Di ba sabi, ang NCI daw is the minority. Hindi naman talaga minority. Is the minority, pero siya yung minority. Gulo mo, ma'am. Okay. 'Di ba pinurchase mo, the majority is the majority and then the NCI is the minority. Okay, the minority interest. So, paano natin kukumpitin yung NCI's percentage? So, we get 100%. Okay? Yung 100% kasi yung kabuuan. Okay? Minus yung total na ha, total interest na meron si acquirer. Ma'am, sa step, yung una, yung padalwa, parehas. Ma'am, yung una, padalwa, patatlo, lahat. Okay, so ibig sabihin, sa simula, meron siyang 15% interest. Bumili siya ng 60%, naging 75% yung total interest niya sa acquirer. Yun. So, 100 minus 75%, you get NCI at 25%, which is the minority. Okay, so, NCI, interest in the acquiree, 1 million. Matanggalin mo 1 million. The net identifiable assets, okay, 1 million. So, ang measurement is at proportionate share daw ng Zeus identifiable asset ni NCI. So, 1 million times 25%. Okay, that's 250,000. Okay, next. Previously held, yan na. Previously held equity interest ng acquiree. Noong unang nating lesson, wala siyang laman lagi. Kasi laging ang assumption is isang bagsakan nung binili, meron na agad control. Dito hindi. Unti-unti siya. Okay, so, previously held equity interest in the acquiree. At fair value siya ha. So, nire-measure mo siya. Okay, yung previously held, nakita mong at fair values niya is 180,000. So, yan. 180,000. Lagay mo na. I-total mo, okay, that's 1,230,000 less the fair value of the net identifiable assets, okay, acquired, that's 1 million. You get a goodwill of 230,000. Diba? Meron pa. Ma'am, nasan yung part na FBPL? Hintay muna. Dito yun sa journal entries. Okay? So, first, you have to recognize, dito tayo sa padalawang part. Dito muna. Okay, bago ito. This is the last step This one. So, you have, dati kasi, 15% lang yung meron ikaw. So, PFRS 9, held for trading securities lang siya. Okay? You have to recognize first gain or loss. Okay? Kasi 'di ba, from 150, paano na-compute yung 150? Yung acquisition cost, kung magkano mo siya bili, 100,000 plus 50,000 cumulative gains. That's the carrying amount na noong investment. Now, nung ni-revalue mo siya, 'di ba? Sabi natin before sa intermediate accounting, when we are revaluing the investments at fair values. Okay? At kapag FVPL, okay, by the end of the reporting period. So, nung nakita 180,000, dating 115, meron ka ng gain. Okay? So, you record this gain. So, by debiting held for trading securities, kasi 15% lang yung interest before. So, yun yung category niya, 30,000. And then, syempre, credit unrealized gain on profit or loss, 30,000. Di ba? Nare-refresh natin ang ating investments part. If you forgot your investments, kumbaga nawala, na-shake na yung stock knowledge mo sa investments, you can actually read your intermediate accounting 1A or 1B book. I have, nakalimutan ko kung nasan siya, kung nasa 1A or 1B siya. Okay? So, next. Ay, wait, hindi pa pala tapos. So, after mong i-record yon, you can reclassify. Okay? Reclassify. Kasi hindi ka na held for trading securities ang tawag dun sa investment mo, magiging investment in subsidiary na. Why? Because you have gained control. Okay? Na nag-gain ka ng control, you debit investment in subsidiary at fair value. Paano mo malalaman ang fair value? That is, yung cash consideration transferred mo, which is 800,000, and yung amount ng previously held equity interest mo, which is 180,000. Okay? So, ipapasok mo lahat siya sa investments in subsidiary. Okay? Okay. Okay. So, yan. You have cash at 800,000, and then you have held for trading securities at 180,000, and you debit investment in subsidiary 980,000. Okay ba? So, yan. Next. What if the previously held interest was classified as FVOCI? So, yung kanina FVPL, this one is FVOCI. Okay? So, same computation, we have consideration transferred 800,000, NCI 250, previously held equity 180. Wala naman pinagkaiba, hindi naman nagbago ang goodwill to 230,000 pa rin. Sa nagbago, in accounting for, kasi nga siya ay OCI. Okay? So, first, we remeasure the fair values kasi nagbago yung fair value niya from 150 naging 180 na. So, investment in FVOCI securities, you have 30,000. Then, unrealized gain credit at OCI, 30,000. Okay? So, gain on remeasurement. Next, we now look at the transferring of the unrealized gain from OCI, okay, on OCI sa retained earnings. Okay? So, you have yung 50,000, okay, that was the first gain, okay, yung mismong purchase na niya, okay, 50,000 plus 30,000, okay, yun yung recent mong remeasurement, okay, yun yung recent remeasurement, yung recent remeasurement at 80,000, okay, so 50,000 plus 30,000, you have 80,000. Sorry, 50 plus 30, you have 80,000. Okay, lahat nun ipapasok mo sa retained earnings. Okay, credit retained earnings. Okay, next. We look at investment in subsidiary. Okay, kasi reclassification na uli. Kasi hindi na siya investment in FVOCI security, siya na ay investment in subsidiaries. Again, credit ka ng cash, consideration transferred 800,000, and then close mo na yung investment in FVOCI securities, okay, 180,000, you now have, pasok mo lahat, investment in subsidiary, okay, reclassification, at 980,000, okay, ma'am, hindi ko talaga mag-get, saan galing yung 50,000, yun yung simula, 50,000 net cumulative unrealized gains, okay, so yun. Okay, I hope this is clear. Marami pa naman tayong maging exercises sa guided exercises. So, yun. Next, this one. Business combination achieved without transfer consideration. Walang ibinigay. Doon mo talaga walang ibinigay. Okay? So, example of this circumstances is where the acquirer has control without transferring consideration. Una, the acquiree repurchases a sufficient number of its own shares from investors. Anong tawag doon? Kapag nire-repurchase ng isang company yung kanyang shares from dun sa mga naging investors niya. Balik ko kayo sa ibabalik ko kayo sa second year. Ang tawag dun is treasury shares. Okay, so nagkakaroon ng treasury shares kasi nagre-repurchase yung acquiree. So, nung nag-repurchase yung acquiree, lumiit yung outstanding shares. So, nung lumiit ang outstanding shares at ikaw, hindi mo namalayan, meron kang investment kay acquiree, hindi mo namalayang nabawasan yung outstanding shares, naging majority stockholder ka. Okay, so ganun yung mangyayari doon. Wala ka namang ginagawa, naging majority stockholder ka. Okay? Next, minority veto rights lapse that previously kept the acquirer from controlling an acquiree in which the acquirer held the majority voting right. So, Kapag kasi ayaw, um, kapag, kapag parang hindi nila feel yung acquirer, okay, o di kaya naman is nagkaroon ng kasunduan, okay, at nag-lapse, this one, ito yung isa sa mga ways, nag-lapse ang minority veto rights, okay? So, siyempre, kahit wala kang tina-transfer na consideration, eh naging majority stockholder ka, nagkaroon ka ng control, nag-lapse, pinigilan, pero nag-lapse, wala na. Meron ka ng control uli. Okay, so yun. Next, the acquirer and the acquiree agree to combine their business by contract alone. So, nagkasundo lang silang dalawa. O, diba, besh? Nagkasundo lang, walang bayad-bayad by contract alone. Okay? Next. With no consideration. So, yan. How do you account for this type of transaction? Kapag doon sa kanina, yung with no consideration transferred, okay? Although hindi siya by contract alone, yung with no consideration transfer, the acquirer substitutes the acquisition date fair values of its interest in the acquiree for the acquisition date fair value of the consideration transferred. So, yung fair value ng interest niya, yun yung nilalagay sa consideration transferred. Although wala naman talaga siyang na-transfer physically ng cash or issuance of ordinary shares, wala. For for this transaction, yung consideration, yung acquisition date fair values ng interest niya sa acquiree, let's say for example 60% or 70%, yun yung inilalagay sa consideration transfer in obtaining goodwill or gain on bargain purchase option. Okay, paano naman yung by contract alone? Okay, so napagkasundoan, usually the acquiree's net assets measured at either fair value or share of the NCI's net asset. Okay, so maaring at fair value ni NCI o di kaya naman ay NCI's net proportionate share in the net assets of the acquiree. So, yun. So, tingnan natin. Itziko owns 36,000 shares representing 40% ownership. Interest in Twice Inc.'s outstanding ordinary shares. Itzy accounted for the investment under the equity method kasi 40% ownership pa lang naman. Significant interest pa lang. Okay? On January 1, 20X1, Twice Inc. reacquired 30,000 of its own shares from the other investors so that Itziko shall obtain control over Twice. Lumiit yung outstanding shares. Pero hindi bumili si Itziko. Ang nag-reacquire is Twice. Nagkaroon siya ng treasury shares, 30,000. Lumiit tuloy yung outstanding shares niya. Naging majority stockholder si Itziko. Okay? So, the following were determined as of acquisition date. The previously held 40% interest as a fair value of 180,000. Okay, Twice Inc.'s net identifiable assets have a fair value of 1 million. You have Itziko elected to measure NCI at NCI's proportionate share of Twice net identifiable assets. So, unahin muna natin kung magkano na ang interest ni Itzy no nagkaroon ng treasury shares si Twice. Okay, so we have original outstanding shares, sinabi naman 90,000. Okay, nasan yun? Hindi ko pala nilagay. Okay, the original, okay, ba't nga wala? Ano ba yan? Okay, the original outstanding shares of Twice is 90,000. Okay, nakalimutan ko lang ilagay doon. 90,000 siya. And then, nag-repurchase siya ng treasury. Nag-repurchase siya ng shares. Nagkaroon siya ng treasury shares at 30,000. So, deduct mo siya. And then, the new outstanding shares is 60,000. Okay, Twice. Now, it's his interest. Okay, 36,000 yung nasa kanya. 36,000 shares. I-divide mo lang sa bagong outstanding. Makukuha mo yung bagong interest ni Itzy. Okay, so 60% na ang interest niya. Ibig sabihin, nag-gain na siya ng control kay Twice. Okay, NCI is at 40%. Paano na-compute? 100% minus majority interest na 60%, you have 40%, which is the minority or the NCI, non-controlling interest. Okay, let's compute. Goodwill. Consideration transferred yan. Applying the theory na ang consideration transferred, kasi wala naman talaga nilabas, is the acquisition date fair values of the acquirer's interest. Okay, so 1 million. Ma'am, saan galing yung 1 million? 1 million is the net identifiable assets fair value. Okay, so 1 million times 60%, that is the acquisition date fair values of the acquirer's interest. Okay, in the acquiree. So, for 600,000, okay? Sa NCI naman, okay, alam natin NCI is at 40%. So, 1 million times 40%, kasi yun yung inelect na measurement, and NCI's proportionate share in the net identifiable assets of the company. Okay, 400,000. Previously held equity interest, wala naman. Okay, isang bagsakan yung ginawa. Total fair value is at 1 million. Okay, fair value of net identifiable assets acquired, 1 million, walang goodwill. Okay, the acquisition date, FV of Itzico's interest was used instead of acquisition date, fair value of consideration transferred. Reclassification is needed and remeasurement gain or loss shall be recognized. Ma'am, ay, yung 40% interest sa fair value of 180,000, bakit hindi ginamit? Hindi siya ginamit kasi ang inelect is yung, acquisition date fair values of Itzico's interest was used instead of acquisition date fair value of consideration transferred. Ibig sabihin, yung buo na niya. Okay, so yun. You have to be careful in reading the problem. So, okay. Marami pa naman tayong magiging exercises dito. Okay, so yun. Next. On January 1, 20X1, ITSI and Twice signed a contract. So, ito naman, by contract alone, anong gagawin? ITSI and Twice signed a contract. The terms in which resulted in Twice obtaining control over ITSI without any transfer of consideration between parties. Okay, the fair value of net identifiable Twice Inc. is 1 million. Twice Inc. chose to measure NCI at NCI's proportionate share of the acquiree's identifiable net assets. O, baliktad. Dapat si ITSI resulted in ITSI obtaining control over Twice. Okay, ang acquirer ay si ITSI. Ang acquirer ay si Twice. Ang fair value daw ni Twice ay 1 million. Okay, yung parang kanina. Okay, nagkandalatsi-latsi lang ang simula. Okay, what is the goodwill? So, dito naman, di ba sabi sa theory kanina, pag contract alone, ang ginagamit is, yung share ni NCI, okay, at the proportionate share sa net assets nila. Okay, so we have non-controlling interest in the acquiree, 1 million. Okay, so yun na yun, 1 million na siya. And then, previously held equity, wala. Total, 1 million. Fair value of net identifiable assets acquired, 1 million. So, wala naman talaga by contract alone. So, ma'am, bakit nilalagyan ni si NCI? Dapat kasi ito ay at 40%. Okay, kasi NCI's proportionate share. Okay, NCI's proportionate share of the acquiree's identifiable net assets. Edit ko na lang to. Okay, so ganyan siya. So, kung mapapansin nyo, pag no consideration transferred, parang nawawala ng goodwill, okay? Sa gantong cases lang, okay? Sa mga given problems lang na ito, nawawalan siya ng goodwill. Pero there will be instances na parang, nagka-goodwill, nagka-gain in bargain purchase, okay? Depende yun sa narrative, okay? But you just need to know the basic theories regarding paano ina-account ang business combination when without any transfer of consideration. So, yun, okay? Next. Yan. This one, yung mga pasunod na, is nasa guided exercises natin. Yung explanation pag pinasok siya sa application, or yung application ng theories. Okay, so measurement period. There will be times na magbi-business combination na kayo. Hindi mo alam ang fair value nung shares kasi hindi mo na-check, o di kaya naman hindi ka sure kung aling current market yung hahanapan mo ng fair values, yung assets ni acquiree hindi naka-fair value, so kung marami siyang lupa, pupunta ka pa sa assessor's office, o di kaya naman siya yung runners niya, okay, asikasuhin mo pa lahat, incomplete information. Okay? Pag dumating ka na sa end of reporting period at hindi pa kompleto yung information na kailangan mo in accounting for the business combination, okay, hindi pwedeng hindi mo siya i-account. Okay, sasalang financial statement mo. So, what you do is you just put provisional amounts muna. Provisional amounts muna subject to adjustments. Okay? Kapag na-obtain mo na yung information na hinahanap mo. And when you obtain the information, dapat yung information na yon is as if nandoon na siya. Okay? Make sure na yung information is present or is existing at acquisition date. Okay? Hindi yung subsequent sa acquisition date kasi sasala ka. Dapat yung information na yon is nandoon na, existing, and very true no acquisition date, hindi mo pa lang na-obtain. Okay? So, pag ganun, ang accounting niya is retrospective. Okay? So, yung provisional amounts, i-adjust mo, okay, as if nangyari yung transaction at acquisition date, which is dapat naman. Okay? Retrospective. Okay? So, ang tawag doon sa period na hinahanap mo yung mga information is measurement period. Okay? It is a period after the acquisition date during which the acquirer may adjust the provisional amounts. Okay, pwede yun. And it ends as soon as the acquirer receives the info it was seeking. So, yon. Pero dapat hindi siya mag-exceed ng 1 year from the date of acquisition. Hindi yung reporting period from the date of acquisition. Okay? So, hindi dapat mag-exceed. So, kailangan i-exhaust mo na lahat ng efforts para ma-obtain mo lahat yung information within the measurement period. Okay? During such period, adjustments shall be recognized to provisional amounts as if it was completed on acquisition date. Okay? And after the measurement period ends, any revisions on the business combination shall be treated as correction of error and shall be subject to PAS 8. So, kapag tapos na yung measurement period and there were certain factors that may influence or you are reasonably certain na affected the business combination in some way and you will be adjusting it. Hindi na siya adjustment for the business combination but a correction of error na. Okay? And is subject to PAS 8 na. Hindi na PFRS 3. Okay? So, yan. Meron tayong problems regarding pumapasok, paano ina-account yung mga information pag pumapasok siya sa measurement period at kapag lampas na siya sa measurement period sa guided exercises. Okay? Determining what is part of a business combination transaction. Okay? Unang-una, we are given by PFRS 3 guidance kung paano mo malalaman kung alin ba yung parte, yung kasama sa table na ginagamit natin as part of the business combination transaction at alin yung separate transaction. Ibig sabihin, may kahiwalay siyang, basta hindi siya kasama sa recording na mismong combination itself, kundi ay separate transaction. Okay? Although connected in some way sa business combination, pero by guidance ni PFRS 3, separate transaction siya. So, let's see. Unang-una, tingnan mo, reason for the transaction. Okay? I-consider daw na separate transaction kapag yung business transaction ay arranged primarily for the benefit of the acquirer or the combined entity rather than the benefit of the acquiree or former owners. So, kapag benefit ni acquirer, separate transaction siya. Pag benefit ni acquiree and former owners, part siya ng business combination. Okay? Ma'am, paano pag naka-basket price o yung isang transaction price ay di hahatiin mo? Okay? You have to reliably measure which is involved in the business transaction that primarily benefits the acquirer at yung nagbe-benefit si acquiree. Ang kasama lang in accounting for the mismong business combination is that is attributable sub business, ano ba yan? Business transaction na for the benefit of the acquiring and the former owners. So, yun. So, sinabi ko na, those transactions that are primarily for the benefit of the acquiring the former owners before the combination. Pwede na ako dun sa, MTRCD. Ang problema ito. Okay. Next. Another consideration is party initiating the transaction. So, sino nag-initiate ng transaction? Sinong promoter? So, we have initiated by the acquirer. Pag initiated ni acquirer, separate transaction siya. Pag initiated ni acquiree or former owners, is part of the business combination transaction. Okay? Mga paano gayan, sa guided exercises, makikita natin kung ano yung tinutukoy nating separate at part ng business combination. Ano? Okay? Timing of the transaction. You have transaction between the acquirer and the acquirer that takes place during the negotiation of the terms of a business combination is more likely to have been entered for the business combination. Ibig sabihin, kapag nag-transact si acquirer at sa acquirer during, yung talagang parang ang agenda talaga is yung business combination. Yung mga transactions regarding those, yung mga napag-uusapan dun, most likely for the business combination siya. Okay, alin yung considered separate transaction? Okay, with separate recording. You have settlement of pre-existing relationship between the acquirer and the acquiree. Okay, so settlement, mamaya yun sa settlement. We have next, remuneration to employees or former owners of the acquirer for future services. So, reimbursement to the acquiree of its former owners for paying the acquirer's acquisition-related costs. Okay, so yan yung mga examples ng the timing of the transaction is important and is considered, the following are considered as separate transactions. Okay, so bakit? Kasi malimit ito, ginagawa, hindi naman talaga outside the business hours. Kumbaga, after yung pag-usapan, yung business combination. Okay? You have the business combination in mind, pero this one, settlement, remuneration, reimbursement, you are preparing for the business combination or yung letter C, reimbursement of the acquiree sa acquisition-related cost is yung na-transact na yung acquisition-related cost, binabayaran mo na lang kung sino gumastos. So, yun. Okay? Kaya separate transaction siya. Okay? We have what is called reacquired rights. So, ano tong reacquired rights? So, if the acquirer reacquires a right previously granted to acquiree, such is recognized as an identifiable intangible asset. Okay? Mamanuga po yung mga reacquired rights. For example, binigyan ni acquirer si acquiree ng right to use the intangible asset. Kunwari, trade name. Okay, under a franchise agreement. So, pinayagan yung acquirer na gamitin yung pangalan ng franchise itself. Okay? Tapos, na-reacquire ni acquirer yon kasi siguro nag-end yung contract or di kaya naman there are certain factors that resulted to the acquirer losing the right. Okay, so, bumalik kay acquirer. Okay? And we have also right to use of the acquirer's technology under agreement. So, pinahiram muna ni acquirer kay acquiree yung use of technology. Okay? Tapos, by contract, siguro nag-terminate na yung contract, bumalik sa kanya, kay acquirer. So, reacquired rights. Okay? Settlement gain or loss is recognized in accordance with the contract versus market transactions. So, parang bago sa pandinig, diba? Okay? Kasi nangyayari kasi. Okay? Settlement of pre-existing relationship between the acquirer and the acquiree. So, ito yung kanina, yung settlement of the pre-existing relationship. Ano ba yon? So, relationships may be non-contractual kapag kinakasuhan ka. Plaintiff and defendant. Ano bang plaintiff? Yung nagrereklamo. And defendant, yung nirereklamo. Plaintiff, yung nagrereklamo. Defendant, yung nirereklamo. Okay? So, kapag non-contractual yung relationship, tapos settle mo na, ibig sabihin, tatapusin mo na. Settlement, okay, negotiating the end of the relationship. Okay, you recognize the settlement gain or loss at fair value. Pag non-contractual. Okay, pag contractual naman yung contractual, kapag vendor or customer, yung supplier, kapag franchisor and franchisee, okay, that's contractual relationship. This one, you have to recognize settlement gain or loss at lower of. Yun yung dalawang premise. We have the amount by which the contract is favorable and unfavorable from the perspective of the acquirer when compared with the pricing for the current market transactions or the same for the same or similar items. So maghahanap ka sa current market niya ng value or yung price, okay, sa perspective ni acquirer, okay, sa kanya yung amount that is favorable or unfavorable on the perspective of the acquirer galing sa current market prices. Okay? And hahanap ka ng lower half between the two. The amount of any stated settlement provisions in the contract available to the counterparty to whom the contract is unfavorable. So, hahanapin mo which part is unfavorable. Sino ang unfavorable? Unfavorable ang position? Si acquirer, si acquiree. Tapos, pag na-identify mo si acquiree yun, hanapin mo yung provision, okay, the amount sa kontrata, okay, the settlement provisions, okay, yun yung ibabangga mo doon sa perspective ni acquirer. Yung isa kasi, alam mong perspective ni acquirer. Dito sa isa, hahanapin mo kung kanino yung position ang unfavorable. Si acquirer, si acquiree. Then, from there, hahanapin mo sa kontrata yung amount ng settlement provisions. Okay? Okay? So, yun. If this amount is lower than the amount in the first condition, then recognize this as part of the business combination accounting. Okay. Next. Hinahanap ko kasi, baka kasi may nakakalimutan pa ako. Okay. Subsequent measurement and accounting. So, tapos na tayo dun sa isa. Meron tayong exercises. Okay, dun sa guided exercise. Okay. You have subsequent measurement and accounting. You have items of assets and liabilities and equity assumed in a combination. Applicable accounting standard applies. So, subsequent measurement, liban doon sa enumerated ni PFRS 3, like for example, cash, accounts receivable, tapos yung business combination, how do you subsequently remeasure them? Look at the applicable accounting standards. This one, yung enumerated, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, PFRS 3 still applies. Reacquired rights, contingent liabilities, indemnification assets, and contingent considerations. So, let's look isa-isa. Okay, we have reacquired right, yung kanina yung napag-usapan natin kanina. Kapag daw siya intangible asset, it is amortized over the remaining contractual period of the contract which the right was granted. Okay? If sold to a third party, pinagbenta sa third party, net disposal received, okay, yung ibinayad less the carrying amount of the acquired right, you recognize gain or loss on sale. Yun yung para sa reacquired right. Okay? Next, contingent liabilities. So this one is from acquisition date until the liability is extinguished. Recognize a contingent liability in the business combination as the higher between the amount that shall be recognized in accordance with PAS 37. Okay? Tandaan PAS 37 nyo. The amount initially recognized less if appropriate cumulative amount to income recognized in accordance with PFRS 15. So, ito, didiscuss ba natin sa ACC 9, PFRS 15. Okay? Next, indemnification asset. Ano yung indemnification asset? So, this is any indemnification right or claim of the acquired companies or related consolidated entities recognized as a current asset under the accounting principles in which represents a claim of seller or any of the acquired companies against third parties, but solely to the extent corresponding to the obligation that have been included in the pre-acquisition and litigation liabilities. Okay? So, this is actually claims. Kaya nga, indemnification asset. Okay? Claims of the company. Siguro nanalo sa kaso. Okay? Di kaya naman ay ganon. Kasi usually, tingnan nyo, acquired companies or related consolidated entities recognized as current asset, claim of seller or any of the acquired companies or related consolidated against third parties. Okay, so indemnification assets. Okay, At subsequent reporting period, recognize the indemnification assets recognized in the acquisition date on the same basis as the indemnified liability or assets subject contractual limitation on its amount. So, yun yung sa subsequent reporting ha. I-recognize mo daw siya at the same basis kung paano in-account yung indemnified liability or asset. Okay? Then, the recognition, okay, so tatanggalin mo na siya when it is collected, yung asset, kapag na-collect mo na, kapag naibenta or nawala, kumbaga hindi pala talaga siya asset. There are certain factors that came up na parang natalo ka. So, nawala yung indemnification asset mo. Doon pa lang, i-recognize mo na siya kapag nakolekta mo, naipagbenta mo, or nawalan ka ng right doon. Okay? So, yun. We have an example, okay, sa guided exercise ito. Okay? We have contingent consideration. So, alam niyo naman kung anong contingency, di ba? Okay, so, first we do initial recognition. So, how do you do this? Contingent consideration, additional consideration for the business combination to be given to the acquiree upon the happening of a contingency which is pre-agreed at the acquisition date. So, napagkasunduan na bibigyan sa acquiree ng contingent consideration. Okay, this is additional consideration. Okay, maaring pera, maaring issuance of shares. Okay? Recognize acquisition date fair value included in the consideration transfer to the acquiree. So, at initial measurement, this is acquisition date fair values. Okay? At subsequent measurement, so if changes in fair value happen during the measurement period and deemed present during acquisition date, apply changes retrospectively kapag yung information that can be reliably verified or sure na sure ka that it is present during the time of the acquisition date, then apply the changes retrospectively. Parang siya yung kanina natin pinag-usapan regarding the measurement period. If hindi siya pumatak sa measurement period, okay, adjustments, the following are not measurement period adjustments. So, ito yon yung mga hindi pasok sa measurement period. So, ibig sabihin, hindi siya accounted for retrospectively. Meeting on earnings target, reaching a specified share price, reaching a milestone on a research and development project. So, itong mga to, if these are the contingencies awaiting to be happen, hindi siya pasok sa measurement period. So, hindi siya accounted for as to be accounted for retrospectively. Okay, so yon. Those non-measurement period adjustment are accounted for as follows. So, ganito. Pag siya classified as equity, not be remeasured and its subsequent settlement shall be accounted for within equity. So, sa equity lang siya. Okay? Pero pag classified siya as asset or liability, may dalawang condition. Kapag siya financial instrument, tingnan mo yung standard regarding PFRS 9. Okay? So, at fair values where gain or loss is measured, whether within, whether within, sorry, in PNL or OCI. So, alam nyo na naman to sa PFRS 9. Okay, kapag naman hindi siya financial instrument, okay, it shall be dealt with the respective accounting standard. Okay? So, yan, disclosures. Mahalagang disclosures. Okay? So, the acquirer general principle, the acquirer shall disclose information that enables users of its financial instruments to evaluate the nature and financial effect of the business combination and financial statements present. So, lahat ng information that is useful sa users para i-evaluate ang nature and financial effect of the business combination, i-disclose mo na. Okay, some includes the name and description of the acquiree, syempre, the acquisition date, percentage of voting equity interest acquired, description of how the acquirer obtained control, paano, stock acquisition, asset acquisition, okay, acquisition date, fair value of the consideration transferred, NCI, and how it was measured, in business combination achieving stages, the acquisition date, fair value of the previously held equity interest, and how the gain or loss on remeasurement was accounted for. So we have reconciliation of the carrying amount of goodwill at the beginning and end of the reporting period, as well as the nature and causes of movements, and any recognized gain on bargain purchase option. bargain purchase option. The line item used in the financial statements to recognize a gain and the reasons why the transaction resulted to a gain. Okay, so konti pa lang yung enumerated. Okay, there are certain information na deemed mo, sa tingin mo ay importante siya para ma-evaluate ng users yung nature and yung effect ng business combination, ilagay mo na. Okay, so yun. Okay, yan. So, wala na akong thinking. So, that ends my discussion on the theories and some examples ng problems para ma-elaborate, okay, yung certain theories, okay? I will be still discussing them in the guided exercises para mas malinaw tayo. Kasi, doon natin talaga i-clarify yung need i-clarify. Okay? Bago po kayo isabak sa activities and quizzes. Okay? Although sa activities and quizzes, marami pa rin clarification, but that's okay. It's part of learning. Okay? So, yun lang guys. Bye!